I'm a mechanic. Yeah, a black woman who gets her hands dirty for a living. So when this arrogant billionaire rolled in with a busted McLaren and dared me to fix it, I knew I had something to prove. What I didn't know? That fixing his car would break open both our hearts. Before I tell you how a billionaire dared me to fix his car and accidentally fell in love with me, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, especially if you're into love stories that don't follow the rules. Trust me, this one's wild. I mean, who would have thought that grease under my nails and a busted McLaren would lead me straight into a man's heart? Not me, and definitely not him. See, I've never been the kind of woman to back down from a challenge, especially not from a man with too much money and too much ego. When he rolled up to my garage with that broken down car and that smug little smirk, I knew exactly what he was thinking. She can't handle this. But baby, let me tell you, McLarens aren't the only thing I know how to fix. What started as a dare turned into something deeper, unexpected, messy, beautiful. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's rewind to the day it all began. I'm not your typical love story heroine. I don't wear heels, I don't sip lattes in cute little cafes, and I definitely don't wait around for a man to sweep me off my feet. I'm a mechanic, yeah, a real one. Grease-stained hands, busted knuckles, and all. I own a small but solid garage on the south side of Atlanta. Not exactly glamorous, but it's mine. Every bolt, every socket wrench, every oil change. I built this place from the ground up. Growing up, I was the girl who hung out at the back of auto shops while my uncles fixed up old Chevys. I learned early that if I wanted something done right, I had to learn to do it myself, especially in a world where folks see your skin color and your gender before they ever see your skills. That's just how it's always been. I've had men laugh when I told them I was the owner. I've had customers second guess my work until they heard that engine purr. But over time, I stopped explaining myself. I let my work talk. And baby, it speaks loud. Most days are the same. Wake up early, pull the garage doors open, line up the jobs for the day, and dive in. I like it that way. No drama, no surprises. Just me and the machines. My friends say I've got a wall around me. Maybe I do. Life's made me strong, not soft. Love? That wasn't really on my list. I mean, sure, I've dated. But real love? The kind that knocks you off your feet? I didn't believe in that fairy tale. That was until he showed up. Rich, arrogant, and clueless about what he'd just walked into. But let me be clear, I wasn't waiting on a man to come fix my life. I was already whole. I had my peace, my hustle, and my pride. What I didn't see coming was how one broken down luxury car and a dare would start something that would shake all of that. So, if you're thinking this is your average boy meets girl story, think again. Because when he dared me to fix his McLaren, he had no idea who he was messing with. And neither did I. It was a Thursday, mid-morning, the kind of day where the sun hits the pavement just right and makes everything shimmer like it's been dipped in gold. I had my head under the hood of an old Dodge Charger, humming along to some 90s R&B when I heard the sound, low, deep, expensive, the kind of engine that doesn't belong in my neighborhood unless it's lost or in trouble. I looked up and there it was, sleek, black, low to the ground, a McLaren 720S, parked crookedly, like it didn't know what to do with itself. Then he stepped out. Tall, too well dressed, sunglasses on even though he was standing in the shade. Everything about him screamed money, money and trouble. He took one look around my shop like he was checking for a hidden camera. Then his eyes landed on me. I was still wiping my hands with a rag, standing tall, waiting. He walks over and says, dead serious, "You the mechanic?" I smiled, slow. "Last time I checked." He raised an eyebrow, like he didn't quite believe it. "My McLaren's making a weird noise. Engine cuts when I accelerate." You think you can handle that? It wasn't what he said. It was how he said it. Like he was daring me. Like he thought I'd back down or pass it to a man in the back. So I crossed my arms and said, "Is that a challenge? Or are you just insecure?" That caught him off guard. His mouth twitched like he was trying not to smile. "Let's call it a challenge." I walked over, circled the car like a lion sizing up prey. "Leave it with me. I'll let you know when it's purring again." He handed over the keys with that cocky smirk. "I'll believe it when I see it." And just like that, he was gone. Left me standing there with the keys to a $500,000 car and a dare burning in my chest. He thought he was just dropping off a car, but he just lit a fire in me. I wasn't fixing that McLaren for him. I was doing it for every time I'd been underestimated. And trust me, I was about to make that car and that man eat their words. The moment he pulled off, I rolled the McLaren into my garage like it was some kind of sacred artifact. And in a way, it was. This wasn't just another job. This was personal now. He didn't just doubt my skills, he doubted me. And something about that lit a spark I hadn't felt in a long time. I popped the hood and immediately spotted the problem. It wasn't even that complicated, just a faulty airflow sensor and a throttle calibration issue. But you'd be surprised how many so-called luxury car owners have no idea what they're driving. He had no clue, but I wasn't about to just fix it. Nah, I was about to make it better than when he bought it. For the next few days, I poured myself into that car. I worked after hours, skipped lunch, let my playlist run wild. I replaced the sensor, recalibrated the throttle response, fine-tuned the exhaust system, and even cleaned out the intake valves just because I felt like showing off. Every time I got frustrated or tired, I'd hear his smug little voice in my head. "You think you can handle that?" And every time I'd push harder. And it wasn't just about proving him wrong. It was about proving something to myself, too. That I still had it. That no matter how many times I'd been overlooked or talked down to, my hands still knew what they were doing. My mind was still sharp. My spirit was still fire. One night, I finished everything. I started up the engine, and it purred like a damn dream. Smooth, strong, powerful. I stood there in the soft hum of the garage, looking at that beautiful machine and feeling this weird mix of pride and anticipation, like I was waiting for something or someone. I knew he'd be back soon, and when he came, he'd see what I was made of. But what I didn't know, what I couldn't have known, was that fixing his car was just the beginning. Because somewhere in between the tools, the grit, and that burning need to prove myself, I had unknowingly opened the door to something way more complicated than an engine problem, something I wasn't ready for, something like him. 3 days later, he came back, just like I knew he would. I heard the sound of expensive shoes hitting my concrete floor before I even saw him. I was under the hood of another car, but I didn't rush to greet him. Let him wait. Let him wonder. He'd walked in expecting a lesson, and I was about to give him one. He cleared his throat. "So, did it beat you?" I didn't even look up. "She's ready. Better than new." That got his attention. He followed me out back where the McLaren sat, freshly detailed, engine purring like a spoiled cat in the sun. He walked around it slowly, jaw tight, eyes focused. Then he looked at me, this time without the smirk. "You did all this?" I raised a brow. "Who else? Your fairy god mechanic?" He laughed. For real this time. It was the first time I saw something behind that billionaire polish, something real. Not the suit, not the money, just a man surprised by a woman who didn't need his approval. He slid into the driver's seat, started it up, and revved the engine. The sound that came out? Smooth as silk. He looked impressed, shocked even. And for the first time, I saw him second-guess himself. He stepped out slowly. "Okay, I was wrong. You're good. I crossed my arms, teasing. Good? Try excellent. That's when he surprised me. He pulled out a business card, sleek, black, with gold lettering. I want to hire you, full time, my personal mechanic. I've got other cars, and none of my guys back in Buckhead can do what you just did. I blinked. Was this man serious? I shook my head. I'm not looking for a boss. I already have one. Me. He chuckled. Okay, how about dinner then? That caught me off guard. Excuse me? Dinner, just a thank you. No pressure. And just like that, he planted a little seed. I didn't say yes. I didn't say no either. I just watched him walk back to that perfect car, this time not looking so sure of himself. That day, he left with more than a fixed McLaren, and I was left with something else too, a question I didn't expect to ask. What if I let him in? After that day, he didn't just disappear like most rich men do once they get what they came for. No, he came back again and again. First, it was a Ferrari that needed a little tuning. Then it was a Range Rover with a mysterious noise that somehow only he could hear. I knew what he was doing, and honestly, it was kind of cute. He never came empty-handed either. One time it was coffee, black, no sugar, just how I like it. Another time it was peach cobbler from a spot I'd once mentioned in passing. I started to notice little things, like how he paid attention, how he didn't talk down to me anymore, how he actually listened when I spoke. The first time we went out, it wasn't anything fancy. Just a small restaurant near the Beltline with outdoor seating and dim lights. He told me about his life, how he grew up broke, made his first million building some tech thing I barely understood, and how none of it ever really felt like enough. I've got all this, he said, looking around the patio, but I'm not sure I've ever had something real. I didn't know what to say to that, so I just sipped my drink and let the silence speak for me. After that night, things started to shift. The way he looked at me wasn't just admiration, it was curiosity, maybe even awe. And the way I looked at him, well, that was the surprise. I had built my whole life around being strong, being guarded, but somehow he was slipping through the cracks. One night, after I'd worked late, he showed up unannounced, said he was in the neighborhood, which was a lie, because his neighborhood was 20 miles away. He brought takeout and a six-pack, and we sat on the shop floor, laughing and eating like we'd known each other for years. It felt easy. And then it happened. Rain started pouring outside, like something out of a movie. I got up to shut the garage door, and he followed me. We were inches apart. No words, just breathe, just tension. Then he kissed me, and I let him. It was almost too good to be true. That's the thing about peace when you're not used to it. It makes you nervous, makes you wonder what's waiting just around the corner to snatch it away. And sure enough, it did. One afternoon, I was at his place, a mansion tucked behind gates and trees, too perfect, too quiet. He had stepped into a meeting upstairs, told me to make myself at home. So I wandered a little, not snooping, just curious. That's when I heard it. A voice, his voice, coming from the office. The door was cracked just enough. I shouldn't have listened, but I did. And what I heard, it hit me in the gut. She's different, yeah, smart, talented, but it started as a dare, man. You remember? I just wanted to see if she could fix it. I froze. Started as a dare. I didn't stay to hear the rest. I grabbed my things and left. Didn't answer his texts. Didn't return his calls. I didn't need to. I'd heard what I needed to hear. I felt stupid, played, like I was just some project for him, a thrill, a story to laugh about over cocktails with his billionaire buddies. I should have known better. Should have stuck to engines and steel and silence. But the worst part wasn't the lie. It was how deep I'd let him in. He wasn't just some client anymore. He had become something more. And now it all felt like a joke on me. Back at the garage, I threw myself into work, stayed late, kept my hands busy so my mind wouldn't spiral. My friends noticed, tried to ask, but I brushed it off. Just tired, I'd say. But inside, I was furious. At him, at myself, at the whole damn thing. A week passed, then two. No calls, no visits, just silence. And maybe that was for the best. Maybe that's what I needed to remember who I was before he walked in with his broken McLaren and his charming smile. But deep down, I wasn't just angry. I was hurt. Because somewhere along the way, I stopped playing the game and started falling for the man. And that wasn't part of my plan either. I was elbow deep in an old Chevy when I heard the bell above the garage door chime. I didn't bother looking up. I already knew who it was. Only one person ever walked into my space without texting first. I wiped my hands, took a breath, and finally looked at him. He looked different, tired maybe, softer. No suit, no slick attitude. Just jeans, a plain t-shirt, and a look in his eyes that I couldn't quite read. He stood there for a second like he didn't know where to start. Then he held out something, a bouquet. Not roses, wildflowers, my favorite. I didn't take them. I need to explain, he said quietly. Please. I crossed my arms. Then talk. He stepped closer, carefully, like I might disappear if he moved too fast. That day in my office, it sounded bad. I know it did. But it wasn't what you think. I stayed quiet. I told my friend the truth. That yeah, it started as a dare, but what I didn't say, what I should have, was that it didn't stay that way. The second I saw what you did to that car, I knew I'd messed up. You weren't just talented. You were the most brilliant, real, grounded person I'd met in a long time. I looked away. My chest was tight, like every word was trying to push through a dam I'd built. I fell for you, he said. Not the challenge, not the story. You, and I'm sorry, for being stupid, for not telling you how serious this had gotten for me. He reached into his jacket and pulled out something small, my shop's logo etched into a chrome keychain. I was gonna give you this the day I asked if you'd go into business with me, but now I'll settle for a second chance. I stared at it, then at him. This wasn't the man who walked into my garage with a busted engine and a busted ego. This was someone humbled, honest, maybe even hurting like me. And for the first time in weeks, I let my guard down. Not all the way, but enough. Enough to whisper, okay, one more chance. And mean it. Things didn't magically fix themselves overnight. Real love, the kind that lasts, takes work. And we had to unlearn some things, both of us. But we showed up, day after day, conversation after conversation. We kept showing up. A few weeks after that talk in the garage, he invited me to his estate again. But this time, it wasn't for wine or small talk. He walked me through this huge section of land behind his property. It was just dirt and outlines on paper, but the way he talked about it, you'd think he was showing me a castle. I want to build something here, he said. A garage, your way, all your rules. I blinked, speechless. He went on, voice low and serious. I don't just want to be the guy who pulled you into his world. I want to build one with you. Now, don't get it twisted. I didn't melt and say yes on the spot. I looked him dead in the eye and said, if we're doing this, it's 50-50. No boss, no employee, partners. And that man, this billionaire who once dared me like I was some kind of novelty, he smiled like I'd just handed him the world. Partners, he said, in business and maybe everything else. We opened the shop together 3 months later. It's sleek, modern, and busy as hell. My old crew works with me there now. His high-end clients bring in their toys, and I make them sing. But even with all the upgrades and glitz, I kept one thing the same. My old garage sign hangs above the entrance, a reminder of where I came from. As for us, we're still learning, still growing, but there's love in the everyday now, in coffee runs, engine checks, and long nights spent side by side with grease on our hands and smiles on our faces. Funny how one broken car led to a whole new life. I fixed his McLaren, sure, but somehow, in the process, he helped me fix something I didn't even know was broken. And that's the part of the story I never saw coming. So, yeah, that's how a billionaire dared me to fix his car and ended up falling in love with me instead. Life's wild like that. You never know which twist in the road leads to something real. If you felt even a little bit of fire, strength, or softness in this story, hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment. I want to hear your thoughts. And don't go too far, because next time, I'll tell you about the day I saved a stranger on the highway who turned out to be way more than just a flat tire. Stay tuned.